Leviathan, the beast no chain could hold. For medieval Christians, Leviathan was not a symbol. It was a living creature God was still holding back. Scholars believed Leviathan dwelled in the deepest seas, vast enough to swallow ships whole. Manuscripts showed it coiled beneath the waves, its body larger than coastlines, its presence hidden below the known world. Sermons warned that no human weapon could harm it. No chain could bind it. Only divine power restrained the beast from rising. Estries described its breath as poisonous and its movement as the cause of storms. Sailors feared not only drowning, but being devoured by a creature older than mankind itself. Medieval maps placed Leviathan at the edge of the world, where oceans turned dark and unmeasured, beyond human rule. Theologians taught that at the end of time, God would release the beast. When restraint ended, chaos would follow. Until then, Leviathan waited, not asleep, not dead, but held back by God's will alone. And for the medieval mind, that was the true terror. Behemoth, the land beast God struggled to restrain. For medieval scholars, Behemoth was not a metaphor. It was the greatest force ever placed upon the land. Reading the book of Job, commentators believed Behemoth roamed the earth at the beginning of time, a creature of muscle, bone, and crushing weight. Manuscripts showed it with a body like a hill and limbs like stone pillars. Sermons taught that Behemoth fed without limit, capable of stripping valleys bare as it moved. Its power came not from speed or cunning, but from mass alone. Theologians warned that no human force could confront it. Spears would shatter, walls would collapse. Only God restrained its path. Bestiaries paired Behemoth with Leviathan, land and sea held in balance by divine will. Unlike other monsters, Behemoth was believed to still be alive, hidden, restrained, and waiting. At the end of time, God would release it, not as a test, but as judgment. And the earth itself would suffer beneath its steps. Seas, the sky beast that darkened the sun. For medieval readers of Scripture, the heavens were not empty. They were inhabited. Scholars believed Zes was a colossal creature of the air, known from ancient tradition and expanded through medieval teaching. Manuscripts depicted it as a bird, so vast its wings could block the sun itself. Commentators taught that Zes ruled the skies as Leviathan ruled the sea and Behemoth the land. Together, they formed a world held in balance by creatures too great for humanity to confront. Sermons warned that when Zes moved, the air responded. Winds shifted, storms followed. Its shadow was seen as a sign of divine power passing overhead. Some bestiaries claimed Zes's wings brushed the firmament, the boundary between the world and heaven. No arrow could reach it. No tower could rise high enough. Zes was not evil. It was obedient. And for the medieval mind, that was the terror. For if God commanded it to descend, the sky itself would fall. The Nephilim, giants born from angels. For medieval Christians, the Nephilim were not myths. They were proof that heaven had once broken its own laws. Reading the book of Genesis, scholars believe the Nephilim were born when angels descended and took human women. The result was a race of giants, violent, powerful, and impossible to control. Sermons warned that these beings corrupted the world before the flood. Their size, strength, and hunger for domination pushed creation toward collapse. Manuscripts showed Nephilim towering over cities, their bodies larger than walls, wielding weapons no human hand could lift. Medieval writers used them to explain the unexplainable. Giant bones found in fields, ruins too vast to build, stones no one could move. The Nephilim were blamed. Theologians taught that God destroyed them to cleanse the earth. Yet some believed remnants survived, scattered after the flood. For the medieval mind, giants were not extinct. They were erased, and their traces were still being uncovered. A warning of what happened when angels fell. and the earth paid the price. The Watchers, angels who broke heaven's law. For medieval scholars, the Watchers were not symbols. They were angels who disobeyed, drawing from the Book of Enoch, an accepted medieval tradition. Theologians believed the Watchers were heavenly beings sent to observe humanity. Instead, they interfered. Manuscripts describe them descending to earth, taking human wives and teaching forbidden knowledge, weapons, sorcery, astronomy, and the art of war. Sermons warned that this knowledge was never meant for mankind. It turned cities violent, prideful, and restless, pushing the world closer to ruin. The Watchers were blamed for bloodshed and for the birth of the Nephilim. Their sin was not hatred of God, but curiosity without restraint. Medieval writers taught that God punished them severely. Some were bound beneath the earth. Others were sealed in darkness until Judgment Day. They were not demons. They were angels who crossed a line. And that terrified medieval believers. For if angels could fall through knowledge, humanity was never safe from it. Seraphim, angels made of fire and terror. In medieval belief, not all angels were meant to be approached. Some existed too close to God to be safe. Drawing from the book of Isaiah, theologians describe the seraphim as beings of fire rather than flesh. They stood nearest to God's throne, burning with divine presence. Manuscripts showed them with 6 wings, bodies aflame, covered in watching eyes. Sermons warned that no human could endure their presence. The fire of a seraph did not comfort, it purified, and purification could destroy the impure. Unlike gentler angels, seraphim did not guide or protect mankind. They proclaimed God's holiness and guarded divine order. Their flames were not symbolic. Medieval thinkers believed the fire was real, consuming sin the way flame consumes cloth. Church art placed seraphim high above altars and domes, far from reach, far from prayer. They were not messengers. They were boundaries. For the medieval mind, heaven was not gentle. Even angels could kill, simply by being what they were. Cherubim, the guardians with many faces. For medieval Christians, cherubim were not angels of comfort. They were obstacles. Reading Genesis and Ezekiel, medieval scholars believed cherubim were composite beings, formed of multiple faces and powers. Manuscripts depicted them with the heads of man, lion, ox, and eagle, wrapped in wings and covered in watching eyes. Sermons taught that God placed cherubim to guard what humanity was forbidden to touch. They stood at the gates of Eden with flaming swords, blocking any return to paradise. These beings were not cruel. They were exact. Theologians explained that each face embodied a force of creation: reason, strength, labor, and vision. Together, they formed a living boundary no human could cross. Church art placed cherubim at thresholds, carved above doors, near altars, and at sacred limits. They marked where the holy began and human permission ended. Cherubim did not judge souls. They denied access. For the medieval mind, paradise was not simply lost. It was guarded by creatures that never slept. Satan, the adversary who still walked the world. For medieval Christians, Satan was not a symbol or a distant ruler of hell. He was active, present, and watching. The devil was believed to move freely through the world, tempting, deceiving, and observing humanity at every moment. Manuscripts depicted him with a physical body, claws, wings, horns, and eyes that never rested. He was not confined below the earth. He entered courts, churches, monasteries, and homes. Medieval theologians taught that Satan could speak, bargain, and disguise himself. He appeared as monks, travelers, merchants, even as angels of light. Possession was real. Temptation was constant. Chronicles recorded encounters with the devil as historical events, not metaphors. Trials included confessions from those who claimed to have spoken with him face to face. Maps placed hell beneath the world. but Satan above it, roaming until the final judgment. Other creatures waited at the edges of creation. Satan did not wait. For the medieval mind, the greatest terror was not monsters in the dark. It was the enemy who walked beside you, unseen, patient, and listening.